top boy should cheer you up. Oh, here she comes, she's a man eater. Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, today we're gonna have some fun. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Oh dear, oh dear. The jokers are out of the pack, and they are giving us opportunities to laugh. So, if I may start on a high note, well, Sunny Adams says, Lady C, the best of news ever. At 57, I've discovered I am a little bit pregnant. My doctor has told me I'm about 17 months. Or was it weeks, he said. I'm not so sure. Baby brain has taken over. You are just having too much fun today, and I had a blast as a result. Thank you as always, Sunny. Sunny Adams, thank you. So you're a little bit pregnant. I dare say that's like Meghan having been a little bit ignorant of Harry and his status. And so you're 17 months pregnant and you didn't realize. Well, I suppose that's almost beating Meghan, who, wasn't she pregnant and not only realized it, but lost the baby conveniently? Oh dear. Aurora, go find that baby. Marty has misplaced it. It seems to be sort of lost somewhere. Maybe when I was sort of doing my Pilates and opened my legs, it might have popped out. Or maybe it's when I sneezed and I expectorated it through my mouth. I mean, these are things, Aurora, that happen when one is as unique and special as your Motti. C.M. Cordero says, I am grateful to South Park for showing the UK and the rest of the world how probably most Americans feel about Harry and Meghan. Whether or not we care about the royal family at all, pretty sure the creators of South Park don't really. H&M are their own fiasco. C.M. Cordero, very well said. I think either Americans are indifferent or sometimes care about the royal family. I would imagine most Americans are relatively indifferent. They might like the royal family the way, fans used to like Elizabeth Taylor. I don't think the fans are quite the way they used to be when I was young, and they had fan clubs and all of that. But, yeah, I'm delighted that it's obvious to the world now that the average American, in whom I have always had a great deal of faith, as I hope I have made clear over the years, I respect the silent majority's good sense. I have said it time and again. I have discovered the average person is a lot more sensible than he or she is given credit for being. And yes, C.M. Cordero, I agree with you. South Park has made it exceedingly obvious to everybody how the average American really feels about that extremely tiresome couple. Tatiana Makovkin says, yes, as an American, I was starting to get very frustrated with the common misconception that the US supports these two grifters. I'm glad the world now knows. We see what they are. And on that lovely introduction, if I may, I'm going to plunge right in with something from Merry Widow, who says, "Good afternoon, Lady C from Petworth. For those of you who don't know, Petworth is where one of the 5 stately homes on the South Downs National Park would be situated. There's Petworth, which is Lord Egremont's house. There is Firle Place, which is Lord Gage's house. There is Arundel Castle, which is the Duke of Norfolk's house. There is Goodwood House, which is the Duke of Richmond's house. And there's Castle Goring, which is my house. So there are 5 stately homes on the South Downs National Park, and Petworth is one of them. So greetings from me to the Merry Widow, and I will continue with the question. I would value your opinion of the latest news that the King has evicted Harry and Meghan from Frogmore. Surely this is the beginning of the end for them. It has also been intimated that Frogmore has been offered to Andrew. Your thoughts, please. Many thanks." Well, Merry Widow from Petworth, I have been saying for some time now that Harry and Meghan are going to be getting their comeuppance, and that there are various irons in the fire, and that things would be coming up to a boil. Well, this is one of the treats that is something that has been in the pipeline for a while. Yes, they evidently have been evicted. They have been served with notice to quit. This impacts very significantly upon Harry's status as being domiciled here, because he's going to need an address in this country to maintain his status of an English domicile. Otherwise, that affects not only his residency status in the United States of America, but his tax status as well. But you know, as the Jamaicans say, you spit in the sky, it will fall in your eye. And they've been doing an awful lot of spitting, thinking that they could get away with it. And they should listen to people who tell them actions have consequences. Well, the story is that Frogmore Cottage has been offered to Prince Andrew, and that Prince Andrew has turned it down. Prince Andrew has, if I recall correctly, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, he was given a 75-year lease on Royal Lodge. He, in return for doing several £1 million worth of repairs and improvements, pays a peppercorn rent of, I think it's £250 a week. However, the lease requires that should it revert to the Crown before the termination of the original length of the lease, the Crown has to pay him back the full, I think it's £8 point something million that he spent on it. He's not eager to leave, and quite frankly, I don't blame him. Also, Prince Andrew has been an innocent victim of a setup, and I know people don't always agree with this and don't like to hear it. Well, with due respect, in life you don't do what you think is going to earn you brownie points and approval. You do what you think is right, and I think it's right to keep on making that point. I don't think there is any justification for Andrew to be moved out of his home. After all, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, lived in it for, I think, a widowhood of nearly 50 years. In fact, exactly 50 years. So, why shouldn't he live there? He's the born son of a queen and a prince. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was the born daughter of an earl. And we'll leave it at that. Where else? Let me see. To pick up back my thread. Meghan and her people have yet again leaked to amid scabies. Oh God, Aurora, Mickey, help me. That's such an itch. Oh, scabies everywhere. Scabies. Scabies. Providing misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda at every turn. Has Meghan saying, because you can depend on it, any word out of that plastic boy's mouth is actually a repetition from that plastic girl's mouth. It all feels very final and like a cruel punishment. Cruel punishment. Since when were just desserts cruel? But to not interrupt. It's like the family want to cut them out of the picture for good. Excuse me. You betray people. You don't expect consequences. To continue, Harry and Meghan have until early summer to vacate. Initially, they were given just weeks, but now they have at least until after the coronation. Oh dear. I wonder, why has this been leaked before the coronation? Just in following up the fact that Meghan might be or is pregnant again. Oh God. Here we go, sorry. This baby's gonna kill me. It's practically under my chin now. You couldn't make any of this up, could you? According to scabies, at least 2 members of the royal family are appalled. I don't know why they would be, but the drift is that it's the York girls, or at least one of the York girls, and maybe the York mother. Well, she ought to know only too well about all the scrapes that she got into that she never really had consequences for. So maybe she thinks it's cruel that Meghan and Harry are going to swallow the bitter draught of the poison they prepared for everyone else. Royal sources have evidently declared this spells the end for Harry and Meghan's time in the UK. Well, it certainly spells the end of his being able to claim domicile status with all the financial and tax consequences, unless he quickly cobbles together a lease somewhere else. And since they have all those hundreds of millions that they claim they have made, there should be no trouble. Harry, look in the Sunday Times. You can get a perfectly respectable, nice manor house somewhere in Suffolk for 2.5 and 3 million. That's chicken feed to the both of you, isn't it? After all those hundreds of millions that you say you've got. Oh dear. Maybe they don't exist. Maybe it was all PR. Or shall we say it was all BS? Well, if you can't put your money where your mouth is, scramble and get a few of the people who are backing you still to put up the money for you. But I would recommend, knowing something about the law in this country, that you better get yourself a nice domicile. Hair, fixed address, otherwise you're gonna have a lot of trouble with Uncle Sam. That's right. And you might discover that Uncle Sam isn't quite as benevolent as you imagine him to be. Well, of course, Harry and Meghan are very adept at trying to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. So, on the back of this news, which has been leaked by them, you can depend on that. So they're going to get sympathy now. Oh dear, poor Harry and Meghan, victims of the laws of physics. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. How dare the laws of physics apply to us? Well, physics is daring. So what do? They snatch, or try to snatch, victory from the jaws of defeat. And so they pitch up at San Vicente Bungalows, which is touted, and notice the way I put this rather condescendingly, as a top club and eatery in Los Angeles for A-list actors, music stars, and studio executives, not to mention B and C listers. And while we're at it, let's speak about the D-listers from Suits. Well, they made sure, because cameras and mobiles are not allowed in that establishment, and Harry and Meghan made sure that they were packed coming and going, dressed to the nines, and the material was handed over to page 6. Dear, do we get whiffs of Diana here? Oh, I just hate publicity. But, hi, Mr. Saunders. Dodie and I are going to be leaving the Ritz at 7:30. Or is it 9:15? Yeah, spread the word. That's exactly what's happening. They don't seem to understand when you play with fire you can get burnt, but so far they're doing okay. Well, Harry, of course, was impeccably turned out in his usual grey jacket, collar turned up, as if he is some spiv, or maybe a John. But that's the look, because gentlemen don't turn up their collars of their jackets. And he had on an ordinary blue shirt and blue jeans and sneakers, or whatever they call them, while Meghan, of course, was, as usual, very dressed. She had on black leather trousers. I wonder, since when did leather trousers have elasticated waistlines? Just make that observation for what it's worth. And of course, her 11-inch high heels, and a black clutch bag, and a fawn-coloured coat with a scarf collar, so it obscured the bump or lack of it, because of course if she's 3 months pregnant she should be really showing, because when Archie was gestating, at 2 months she was showing. So what lurks beneath is the question. So they are milking yet again publicity machines for all they are worth. Well, not content to just have laid down the law where that set of narratives is concerned, he has also said through his sources, that is himself and Meghan, Harry said he was really happy about the success of the book and the reaction to it. He said he had no regrets about any of the revelations, and he's relieved to have got his story out into the world. There's been an amazing reaction to it. There has. Amazing, my dear Harry, is not only a positive, it can be a negative, but since you're too dumb to know the difference, who am I to point it out to you? And wait for it. Here comes the shot across the bow. Harry is already planning to add at least one new chapter to the paperback version out later this year or early next, when the hardcover sales have ended. And in the meantime, he has had Stephen Colbert release a new clip filmed in New York a month ago, where he answered quick-fire questions about his life. Well, when asked about the afterlife, the ever-wishy-washy Harry, who has the spiritual enlightenment of an amoeba, said that he believes all humans are reincarnated as animals when they die, and he wants to come back as an elephant. Well, let's hope it's not an elephant in Thailand where he has to be strapped to a post and is only released to have tourists ride on his back. Or I suppose in this life he might be getting very used to the fact that a massive something is riding on his back. Evidently, he has decreed that he believes that he wants freedom, happiness, clarity, space, and love to describe the rest of his life. I wonder how that works with... You've ruined my life! He put a target on my back! You're just so incompetent, you're such an idiot! Who knows? Maybe some people spell joy Torment. Let us see what happens, because, personally speaking, I think, as I've said before, you can't make any of this up. But Harry and Meghan, the chickens are coming home to roost. I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. There are a lot of irons in the fire. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that will be coming to boil and to fruition this year. And Harry and Meghan are going to discover that they have got their comeuppance. Obviously, I am not going to be saying what I know about certain matters to ruin them arriving at their fruition. But I think you might be able to get the drift now of some of the hints I have been giving over the last months as to the fact that Harry and Meghan are not going to get away with fouling everybody's nest while theirs remain unsullied. That they will have consequences. It's just a matter of things happening in an orderly, just, legal, and fair and constructive manner. Tarot Corner of Dew says, Dear Lady C, I really like your fresh attitude towards the monarchy and the modern approach to it. Do you think it's possible that King Charles will exile Harry at the end if he keeps on disrespecting him, Camilla, and the rest of the royal family? My dear, there is no way that the king can, in reality, exile Harry. He can't deprive him of his citizenship. He can't deprive him of his right to live in this country. What he can do, and what has been happening from the time of the late Queen, is that Harry is being made to understand that when you choose to stand up and you understand that the chair that you were sitting upon needs to be removed because of the choice you have made, you cannot then sit upon air. And if you do, you come crashing to the ground. And when you hurt your coccyx, don't complain and blame everybody but yourself for the consequences of your actions. Harry has, in effect, exiled himself, and he knows it. I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I have been receiving reports from various well-placed people that Harry has been trying to get back in touch with his friends here to re-establish links in this country, and he has been receiving a very mixed response. Harry, by his own account in what he has been saying recently in interviews, is an exile. He knows he is an exile. He knows that there is little, if any, room for him to come back here after he did all of those shows. He evidently has tried to backtrack on that, hence why he's been getting in touch with friends and trying to resuscitate and revitalize his English life with very mixed responses, as I have said before. He has also, and Meghan, they have been spreading the word that they are de facto separated and that he has called in the lawyers. Is this true? Is this yet another one of their game plans? Some people would say grifts. Oh, I'm not going to say grifts, but people do say grifts. With them, who knows? They don't know what the truth is. If they do, they're certainly not speaking it. So if they don't know the truth, and they don't know what the truth is, how can we rely upon anything that emanates from their quarter? Because you'd be very stupid to do so. Having said that, there is every possibility that the marriage is indeed, if not totally over, extremely rocky. I would actually say all these shows of public togetherness are very reminiscent of Charles and Diana in their public appearances in the late 80s and early 90s. And there's a lot of money at stake where Harry and Meghan are concerned to keep up this act. You remember, we've got to share with the world our great love story. Everybody just loves a love story. And ours is the greatest love story of all time. Yes, it is. Here I am, Meghan and Harry. It really should be Meghan and Meghan, but you know, it's got to be Meghan and Harry. If only till we've got all the money counted and allocated. 120% to me. Harry owes me another 100%. That's called Meghan math. But yes, he's exiled. He's exiled in reality, even though not in the law. I mean, in the olden days, when you were exiled, you weren't allowed back into the country without the permission of the monarch. For instance, small example, Grand Duke Michael Mikhailovich, when he married Sophie von Merenberg, he was banned from returning to Russia. That saved his life during the First World War. Charles can't ban Harry from returning to the United Kingdom. But everybody's response to Harry can, will, and has, or let me rephrase that. Everybody's response can and will ban Harry, and everybody's response has already banned Harry from returning to England, because Harry's skin isn't so thick that he wants to live in a place where scorn pours over him in a way that it doesn't even pour over him when he is being treated to a Meghan outpouring. So hopefully that answers the question. Metal Tiger says, Lady C, thank you for your new post. Love it. Did you see the Daily Mail report photographs of Harry's wife having latte with her investment Clevr, a wellness brand coffee shop? No baby bump. Wondering if she will ever let her hair go natural. What a surprise that would be. She could actually claim her biracial identity. Well, I doubt. She has the best of both worlds. In fact, she has the best of all worlds. She looks white, and when it suits her, she browns up and says she's black. That's pretty much covering the whole of the racial spectrum in one fair swoop. Now, the photographs taken at that event could be years old. Meghan's face looks suspiciously smoother than it did in the Netflix documentary, where she definitely has lines here. Frown lines. She doesn't have them in that. Has she had Botox since? Is it an old photograph? Who knows? But again, this is put out by their people, because remember, Meghan and Harry have in-house publicity now. So their propaganda is in-house, traceable back to the both of them. And this is a reminder to people that Meghan is a businesswoman, and Meghan is in her business. And also Meghan may not be pregnant, or Meghan may be pregnant. Well, she has no baby bump. She had a bigger baby bump when the Queen's funeral was taking place. And remember, she was supposed to be pregnant then, but since that pregnancy did not materialize because all of the pregnancy rumors were ignored by everybody who was supposed to pick upon them and say, oh, Meghan's pregnant again. Oh, the Queen would have been so thrilled to have another grandchild to not see. Well, that was an abortion, wasn't it? So, the games these people play are quite frankly reprehensible. They have you coming and going, never knowing what to believe. One bit of misinformation and one laying down of a false trail after another. It is a study in bad propaganda. If the object of the exercise is to keep people talking, but for people to continue to come to the conclusion that they are empty vessels making an awful racket, and everybody is paying attention, saying, please stop, just stop, we don't want any more. They're successful. But if it is making music, no, sweetie pie, that's a racket. That's not music. Kimberlette HY says, begging for an apology helps Todger save face in front of Medusa. I like that one. She is Medusa. Also, I love the word that some of you have coined, that you have a magnancy. I think I feel a magnancy coming on. I'll have to tell you next time if I am magnant. But the other day I was magnant, but the sofa needed the cushion more than I did, so I'm no longer magnant. Gotta laugh, gotta make fun of ridiculous nonsense. After all, this is what people think, and Meghan's conduct is what's made them think it. So why would we ignore what she has in fact inspired us to comment upon? So, to continue. Begging for an apology helps Todger save face in front of Medusa. That's the impression I get from his behaviour since they met. a lot of his demands, entitled behaviour, were grandstanding to make her think he was a bigger deal in the royal family than he was. And Kimberlette, HY, you are absolutely right. You have hit one of the many nails that have caused rips in the fabric firmly on its head. Meghan has made the same mistake that the late Duchess of Windsor made. You know, the Duchess of Windsor was from a very good American family, but she was a poor relation. She was not a member of, even though she was from a very old, grand American family and was really American aristocracy, she was not out of the top drawer. She was a poor relation. She wasn't functioning on as high a level as, say, the Vanderbilts and the Astors and the Morgans. Therefore, when she came here and was introduced into the royal circle through Consuelo Morgan Thaw, who was the sister of Gloria Vanderbilt Sr. and Thelma Viscountess Furness, that's who introduced Wallis Simpson into English society. She was, as my stepmother-in-law, Margaret Argyle, said, very much a little mouse. And if you read her autobiography, you will see that she wildly overestimated the wealth, the influence, and the power of the Prince of Wales, as he then was, and King Edward VIII. He didn't overestimate it. He actually underestimated his power. And I went into that in various books I've written. But she wildly overestimated it. And Meghan has done the same thing. And Harry has fed her illusions and delusions in a way that David did not feed Wallis's illusions and delusions. Because Harry has been, oh, look at me, I'm a big, powerful man. I'm macho man. I am alpha male. And then he does his sort of little poncy little movements like, I'm so in touch with my feminine side. So, which is he? Macho man or Minnie Mouse? Well, I think she's discovered what he is. And I think we've discovered what he is through his conduct. However, I do think that all along, Harry led her to believe that there were crocks of not only gold, but diamonds and rubies and sapphires, Kashmiri sapphires, incidentally, and Burmese rubies at the end of the rainbow. And she was duped, and she believed it. And when she realized that it wasn't so, she understood that what she had was nevertheless infinitely better than what she had ever had before or was likely to ever have again. And at that stage, she thought, I can make this work. I can make this work for me. I will earn the money. I'm going to become a victim. I'm going to become a victim of racism. I'm going to become a victim of a cruel family, this very family that I said was so wonderful to me. And it was a family I never had. Well, Now it's a family. I did have. I discarded it the way I discarded the other one. So, yes, I think you're on to something. You know, Harry and Meghan are truly a tableau vivant of immaturity, ignorance, fantasy, deception, connivance, blame placing, you name it. Most of it is negative. The appearance was initially positive, but for every appearance of anything positive, it has turned out to be, once you lifted the lid, a study in negativity. But this is what happens when you marry somebody who is a little bit disturbed, a little bit disordered. You end up getting what you didn't bargain for. Yes, I think to an extent, by the time Meghan married Harry, though, she knew exactly that things were not quite as they seemed to be, because I believe, of what I have been told, that they were already making plans to maximize their advantages commercially. So this means before the wedding ring was on her finger, she knew, if not precisely what she was dealing with, she pretty much knew what she was going to be dealing with. And she thought, well, it's better than being dismissed from Suits, which is coming to an end. And it sure beats Ashley Cole. I mean, why do I have to be the wife of a rich footballer of colour when I can be the wife of a richer prince of no colour except ginger? And even then, it's not enough money for me. But I'm going to make this work for me. I'm going to throw my weight around, and you're going to make him throw his weight around, and we're going to turn it into something it isn't. Well, they weren't able to do that. So they did the next best thing. Half in, half out. That didn't materialize either. Oh my goodness. These people are studies in failure. One failure after another. And we're going to end with Flame Lily saying, I agree that the duchesses should be holding the canopy, but maybe King Charles is trying to avoid an accusation from Harry that his wife was snubbed by the king. Perhaps that is why Queen Camilla's grandchildren will be holding the canopy. Flame Lily, royal duchesses do not hold coronation canopies. The wives of aristocratic dukes hold coronation canopies. So this is a mistake that several people have made, and because they don't understand who holds what and the difference in rank, they are thinking that this is possibly a way of cutting Meghan out of the picture. She never stood any chance of being in the picture whatsoever. Okay? She's not an aristocratic duchess. She is a royal duchess, and royal duchesses do not qualify for holding the canopy. It's as simple as that. Actually, there's another question that I'm going to cover. Pamela Bonilla says, see her nasty attitude when she was a child! Exclamation mark. Sitting in that chair fishing, and her dad said something to her, and she looked back at him, then rolled her eyes as she turned her head back. She definitely wanted to be in charge then. She thought she was smarter than her father. Very well observed. Meghan was always dominating, controlling, lippy, impertinent, pushy, aggressive, ungrateful, and when it suited her, charming. But she always had an attitude of, I'm just better than you, and why do I have to do that? You should be pleasing me. Sadly, she was and is a spoiled brat. Now, I understand, being a single mother, how a single parent can compensate to such an extent that it's overcompensation in trying to make sure that you are both father and mother, or mother and father, as the case may be, to a child. And I suspect that it's very difficult for all parents to get the balance right. And for single parents, it's even more difficult. And contrary to Meghan's claims in Netflix that her mother was so present, and by implication her father was not at all there, her mother was not present over a 10-year period for any time of any consequence, while her father was, for that 10-year period, by her own account previously, a single father, and a wonderful single father. But yes, I think she always was a nasty piece of work. You look at those pictures, she is an entitled, pushy, uppity, bumptious, arrogant, impertinent, really offensive little girl who, because she could sometimes have the patina of pleasantness, and she was flagrant enough, she got away with it. But I think you've hit the nail on the head. When you look at Meghan now, and you look at what she was when she was a little girl, the warning signs were there from the word go. What I know nobody in her family ever envisaged was that she would turn out to be as cold-hearted, ruthless, treacherous, and vicious as she has turned out to be. Because you can be spoilt, and you can be a brat, and you can be really very tiresome without being a nasty piece of work. And Meghan is just a nasty piece of work. We see it every day in the way she behaves. Because, as I have pointed out to my children time and again, one of the tests isn't what people will do, because even Hitler and Stalin were nice when it suited them. It's what people won't do. Decent people simply don't do certain things. It's as simple as that. So charm and, oh, I'm so wonderful. I just love penguins flapping. down Fifth Avenue. All rubbish. That facade means nothing if you are capable of doing some of the grossly atrocious things that Meghan has done. That's the acid test of a person. What they will and won't do. And it's not only with the positive, it's with the negative. And I hope on that note, I may leave you. And I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, please keep the questions and comments coming in. Remember, this cannot be done without you. Thank you so much for the questions and the comments, some of which are an absolute treasure. God bless. Goodbye. And if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. Godspeed.